16-year-old Arata, feeling the pressure of his age and status, asks his 15-year-old younger brother Shin how he managed to get a girlfriend. But Shin, more interested in his phone, doesn't offer much help. When asked, he casually says he just went with the flow. This vague answer frustrates Arata, who wants to understand this elusive flow. Shin, sensing his brother's desperation, acknowledges the burden Arata carries as the eldest in the family, but wishes he'd ease up. Shin reminds Arata that he once said a girl was pretty, to which Arata quickly responds it wasn't love, just a passing comment. Shin, teasingly, tells him to stop being such a coward. As the heir to the powerful Shiunji family, Arata could have any girl he wants. But Arata doesn't believe that fate simply drops love into your lap, yet he finds it hard to believe it doesn't exist at all. Their 5 sisters interrupt the conversation. Each brings her own energy. 16-year-old Uka finds such talk unworthy of the Shiunji family image. 17-year-old Seiha claims boys talk 30% about girls and 60% about what to do with them. 15-year-old Minami jokingly adds up the numbers to 80%, revealing she can't do basic math. 18-year-old Bonri corrects her but is ignored. 14-year-old Kotono stays silent, observing. Uka, suspicious, imagines Arata pushing Shin for juicy gossip about his girlfriend Yu, but Arata denies it. Still, Shin snitches, saying Arata commented on Uka's developing figure. That earns him a vicious bite from her dog, Vel, and Uka suggests he should have been bitten somewhere more sensitive for his impure thoughts. Despite Arata's insistence that he sees his sisters purely as family, the girls continue teasing him. Minami notes he nearly ended up in the mysterious room 8 for his comment, but Bonri sympathizes. Seiha shifts the conversation to genetics, saying sibling attraction is both illogical and dangerous. Bonri argues that science can't explain everything, and teases Seiha about blushing, suggesting even the logical one has felt love. Amid the chaos, Minami tells Arata she thinks he's cool but punches him immediately after, blaming a fighting game for the reflex. Uka jokes that Minami's motor functions might be on autopilot. Seiha compares her strength to an Olympian, and Bonri praises Arata's looks. Uka, however, says Arata's personality ruins the great genes their father gave them. Uka then reminds the brothers of Kotono's birthday party on Saturday. Shin is only busy Sunday, so both are confirmed to attend. Arata tries to object, but Kotono gently confirms he's free. He agrees to reschedule his plans. The sisters are thrilled, as it's been a while since all 7 went out together. The next day, the sisters meet at the subway station. Their beauty turns heads. After all, they are the famous Shiunji sisters, each with her own fan club. Likewise, their brothers, Arata and Shin, are admired like celebrities. But Arata finds it absurd that outsiders envy their life. If they knew the truth, they wouldn't. Shin adds that people only see the surface. At home, the sisters dominate. They can hit the boys, but not the other way around. Even their father takes their side. Shin reflects on each sister. 18-year-old Bonri, a first-year college student, training to be a nurse, gentle and beloved. 17-year-old Seiha, top student and science club president, calm and admired for her brilliance. 16-year-old Uka, athletic and smart, a star in swimming and running, future student council leader. 15-year-old Minami, tennis prodigy, tomboyish and respected, popular with both boys and girls. 14-year-old Kotono, the youngest, radiates innocence and vulnerability, adored by everyone. Shin brings up Kotono's feelings for Arata. Arata is stunned but reaffirms that one confession won't change their bond, they're siblings, and that's final. He's then distracted as he catches sight of a girl he likes, Lala Yokoyama, through a window. Shin philosophizes, people envy their life, but Arata's past trauma with girls made him timid. That night, Arata scrolls through Lala's social media profile, thinking of messaging her, but hesitates. Remembering Shin's comment about his passivity, he tries to shake off his fear. Uka knocks on his door to borrow his notebook. As twins in the same grade, it's handy. Arata can't help but admire her appearance and awkwardly asks if her clothes are too revealing. Offended, she reminds him they once bathed together as kids. Then, curious about his crush, she pesters him until he admits he finds Lala Yokoyama attractive. Excited, Uka says she and Lala are on the same committee and offers to introduce them. But Arata wants to take things slow and refuses. Disappointed, Uka slams the door and says he'll never find a decent bride if he keeps acting like this. Elsewhere, Kotono stares at a photo of her and her siblings, tears welling in her eyes as she gazes at Arata. The next day after school, Arata imagines how life would be if he weren't a Shiunji. As fate would have it, he sees Lala talking to another guy, someone she arranged to meet. Fate, He thinks, decides everything, from siblings, to partners, to children. On Saturday night, Arata prepares to head downstairs for Kotono's birthday. Uka reminds him of their father's motto, dress well if you want to be someone. Tensions boil downstairs. Uka yells at Minami for losing an AirPod. Minami counters by bringing up losing their mother's brooch. The fight intensifies, with both sisters yelling that they don't want to be related anymore. Arata, fed up, raises his voice and reminds them all that they're one family, no exceptions. Uka brushes him off, but Seiha calms everyone by announcing that their father is arriving. With the family gathered and the table set, Uka raises her glass to toast Kotono. But before the celebration begins, their father interrupts, saying there's something he has always wanted to tell Kotono. The father prefaces by saying his love for all of them will never change. Then he drops the bomb. Arata is shocked and stands up, demanding an explanation. Calmly, the father explains that all of them were adopted, and he had promised their late mother, Chihiro, that he'd reveal the truth when the youngest, Kotono, turned 15. The only exception, Shin and Minami, who really are biological twins. The rest, including Arata and Uka, are not true twins. This stuns them. Though the father offers to answer questions, he insists the evening should still be a happy occasion for Kotono's birthday, asking the maid Yamaguchi to bring in the appetizers. But the mood is tense. Everyone sits in awkward silence, their minds reeling from the revelation. After the meal, Banri dismisses the maid and gathers everyone for a serious talk over tea. No one touches the food, except Minami, who remains cheerful and eats as if nothing happened. Banri praises Minami's positivity, saying she inherited it from their father, only to be reminded by Seiha that there's no genetic link. Uka leans on Arata, trying to accept the truth, but still feeling betrayed. Seiha, however, defends their father's timing, saying this was the best way to honor their late mother's wish. Despite that, Uka can't shake the feeling of being deceived. Minami, ever blunt, thinks everyone's just overthinking it. Seiha questions if Banri, the eldest, remembers anything about their adoption since she was 4 when Kotono arrived. But Banri acts strangely, avoiding the topic. When pressed, Banri insists everything's fine and reaffirms, even if we're not blood-related, you're all my siblings. Everyone finally cracks a smile, except Kotono, who quietly hides her sadness. Later that night, Arata lies in bed, overwhelmed. He recalls Banri's comforting words and realizes that what matters most is the time they've spent together. Still, images of Lala Yokoyama with another guy pop into his head. Trying to clear his mind, he heads to the shower. There, in a comedic twist, he finds Kotono already in the bathtub, and he sees more than he should. Embarrassed, Arata quickly wraps up and rushes to leave, but Kotono innocently asks him to scrub her back, like when they were younger. Though flustered, Arata does as asked, doing his best not to look at her inappropriately. He finishes early, encouraging her to learn to do it herself next time and quickly leaves the room. Meanwhile, Shin talks with Uka, who is concerned for Kotono. She believes they all need to support her, especially as the youngest. Shin shares that he's still processing everything, feeling like their lives jumped from 0 to 100. Uka reflects on how she and Arata, believing they were twins, shared a unique bond. But Shin reassures her that nothing has really changed. Arata is still the same dependable older brother. At this point, Shin also notes that only he and Minami are truly blood-related, and that going forward, people will see them differently once this truth becomes public. In fact, there's now the awkward reality that romantic relationships between them are no longer taboo. Arata is caught off guard when Kotono suddenly hugs him from behind, leaving him frozen in disbelief. Meanwhile, in the dining room, Uka struggles to comprehend the idea of a romantic relationship between Arata and his sisters. The mere thought of it feels absurd to her, but she can't shake the nagging feeling that something is off. She recalls the way Arata's gaze seemed to linger on his sisters, especially the strange incident when she saw him pin Kotono to the floor. At the time, she didn't understand what was happening, but now, the situation seems more complicated. Confused and concerned, Uka presses Shion for answers. Shion hesitates, unsure if sharing the full story is the right thing to do. But seeing Uka's serious expression, he finally explains that Kotono had confessed her feelings to Arata. The moment Uka witnessed, where Arata pinned Kotono to the floor, was the result of Kotono lunging forward to hug him. Arata, caught off guard, tried to stop her, and in the chaos, they ended up tumbling to the floor. Uka, still struggling to believe it, knows Kotono well enough to trust it. Kotono has always been impulsive and emotionally intense, so her behavior makes sense. Still, the situation is troubling, especially now that Kotono knows they are not blood-related. There's a real possibility that she might try to pursue a romantic relationship with Arata. In the bathroom, Kotono, determined to confess again, clings to Arata tightly. She explains that her repeated rejections confuse her because, now that they're not truly siblings by blood, there shouldn't be any barriers between them. Her feelings for Arata are strong, and she's afraid of being seen as strange or wrong, but she can't help the depth of her emotions. Touched by her sincerity, Arata gently turns to face her. He reassures her that she's not a bad person but suggests that her feelings might be confused due to her age and the emotional turmoil that comes with puberty. He explains that even though they're not related by blood, they were raised as family, and he sees it as his responsibility to protect her, not reciprocate her feelings. He promises to support her until she finds someone else to love. Crushed by yet another rejection, Kotono silently nods and returns to the bathtub. Before stepping out, Arata softly wishes her a happy birthday. As he exits the room, he sneaks past his other siblings, unsure of what just happened. Meanwhile, Bonri enters her father's study, intent on confronting him about the family situation. Arata, finally alone, breathes a sigh of relief, pondering what could have prompted Kotono to confess again. The timing, after the news of their adoption, seems too coincidental. As Arata enters his room, he finds Seiha sitting on his bed, looking unimpressed. She asks him where he's been, and he lies casually, claiming he was simply taking a walk around the estate. Seiha doesn't buy it but chooses not to press further. Instead, she comments on his room, the smallest of all the siblings' rooms, and how unusually spacious it feels tonight. They reminisce about the time they played rock-paper-scissors to decide their rooms, with Uka winning every round and claiming the largest room, leaving Arata with his current, modest space. Seiha's curiosity seems to be piqued, but she doesn't explain her presence. Instead, she unexpectedly pushes Arata onto the bed and climbs on top of him. Arata tenses up, his mind racing, especially after what's been happening with Kotono. He wonders if Seiha is about to express similar feelings. However, Seiha's expression shows no signs of flirtation, only a kind of detached curiosity. After a brief moment, she shifts away from him, explaining that she overheard Kotono and Arata's conversation in the bathroom. Arata, caught off guard, pushes her off comically, but Seiha remains calm. She coolly explains that societal norms and legal concerns are based not on public perception but on biological realities. In her view, the barrier that once existed between siblings is no longer relevant, and it would be hypocritical to pretend otherwise. She reassures Arata that she has no romantic interest in him but acknowledges that her sisters might. Before leaving, she reminds him of their sibling roles and tells him to address her with respect, perhaps even with a cute nickname. Seiha's departure leaves Arata stunned. His thoughts are in turmoil, overwhelmed by the strange dynamics unfolding within his family. He collapses onto his bed, unable to process the situation. Meanwhile, outside, Seiha pauses, looking down at her clenched palm as if reassuring herself that her feelings are natural. She stands there for a moment, deep in thought, until Minami notices her. Seiha retreats quietly to her room. The next morning, Arata hasn't slept at all, the weight of the previous night's revelations still heavy on him as he prepares for school. When he steps into the hallway, he's stopped by Bonri, proudly showing off her new internship uniform. She excitedly mentions that she gave Kotono her spare uniform to try on and wonders what Arata thinks. Hoping to avoid any awkwardness, Arata deflects with a vague answer. Bonri misinterprets his response, thinking he's disapproving of her uniform, which causes her expression to falter. She clings to Kotono for reassurance, and Arata tries to comfort her, reminding her that her uniform looks nice. He gently hints that they should hurry, as school is about to start. At school, Arata walks with Shion, the group of girls naturally ahead. As they pass a cluster of students, some boys whisper in admiration of the girls. Arata's gaze lingers on the group, noting how unaffected they seem despite everything that has happened. Shion, reflecting on their family's secret, wonders what might happen if it were made public. Arata quickly tells him to keep his voice down, not wanting any rumors to spread. The school day passes quietly, but Arata can't shake the unease lingering in his thoughts. When he bends down to pick up his shoes, the weight of Kotono's confession and Seiha's unsettling logic weighs heavily on him. Minami, unaffected by the turmoil, appears cheerful as ever, but Arata can sense that there's more to her than meets the eye. He watches her as they walk together, admiring her energy. She seems the least affected by the family drama. Their conversation remains light as Arata praises her athletic achievements. However, Minami admits she's on academic probation due to a failed exam. Arata, seeing her disappointment, offers to tutor her, and they head to a karaoke place. Despite the tutoring session, Minami quickly loses focus and starts singing karaoke instead. Arata watches, bemused, as she performs a song about a girl who prefers tennis to studying. The song feels too fitting for their situation, and Arata bursts into laughter, deciding to let go of the tutoring for the day. After the session, Arata notices Lala with her boyfriend in the lobby. His body tenses, and he ducks away. Minami quickly realizes who Lala is and deduces that she must be the girl Arata had feelings for. On their walk home, Minami teases Arata about Lala but reassures him that he should let go, as Lala is already with someone else. Minami lightens the mood by reminding him of the strong sibling bond they share, which no bloodline can change. Once they reach home, Minami gives Uka a box of mini cakes and the AirPods she borrowed. To Minami's surprise, Uka shrugs and tells her to keep the AirPods, offering the cakes as a quiet gesture of peace. It's an unspoken truce after the emotional turbulence of the past few days, signaling a new sense of understanding among the siblings.
Arata starts his morning brushing his teeth and unexpectedly runs into Kotono. Their interaction is a bit awkward but polite, hinting at some recent tensions between them. Arata wonders if he managed to convince her everything's fine. Seha, as cheeky as ever, sneaks upon Arata, prompting a brief Homeric exchange. Seha reminds Arata to call her Seha-chan, leading to a playful yet insightful conversation about Arata's complicated dynamic with Kotono. Minami then suddenly appears with a dramatic Shoryuken and reminisces about last night's gaming session where she thoroughly beat Arata. Their bickering catches Seha's attention, who questions the use of senpai between siblings, leading to more teasing from Minami. At school, Arata overhears Uka discussing love and teasing him about never confessing to Lala, who already has a boyfriend. Her friends gossip about Arata's looks and whether he's single, while Uka calls him a pervy, muscle-brained gorilla despite accidentally praising his neatness and protective nature. Arata reflects on her popularity and dreads the upcoming group outing to With Me Seapar, hoping nothing goes wrong. At the park, the group is excited, especially about the mascot. While everyone's distracted, Bandri drags Arata off to get food. When they return, the others are gone. With no one answering their phones, Bandri suggests treating it like a date, much to Arata's shock. Bandri keeps teasing him, acting overly affectionate and flirtatious. She even jokes about letting him touch her chest back home, frustrating Arata. Despite her antics, he remembers how reliable she is and how she's always had his back as the eldest sibling. Meanwhile, the rest of the group is having fun, unaware of Bandri and Arata's ditto. They prioritize Kotono's birthday and decide to enjoy the park to the fullest. Even though they got separated, everyone seems to be thinking the same thing. Bandri's probably messing with Arata again. Later, Bandri and Arata share food and talk about their father's shocking announcement. Bandri reassures Arata, reflecting on her responsibility as they invest. She promises to always protect the bond they share. Arata is touched, remembering how she's always been his dependable big sister. Their heartfelt conversation is interrupted when a little girl trips and spills her drinks. Arata steps in and gets soaked, but he brushes it off, more concerned about the child than himself. Bandri, flustered, tries to dry him off, worried and grateful. Arata tells Bandri, I will protect it with you. I want to, because I am your little bro. Touched, Bandri thinks to herself that Arata has grown up. Later, while walking to another ride, Bandri asks to hold his hand, saying, let me have this. I'm your big sister. Uka points out the beautiful likes, comparing them to a movie set. Minami calls Uka a princess and Seha jokingly says the place looks like Yomotsu Hirasaka, the slope between life and death. Arata excuses himself to use the bathroom, and Shion and Kotono join him. With the three gone, Seha brings up a concern. She saw Kotono cling to Arata in the bath. Arata confirmed it, and Seha claims she tested Arata's reaction scientifically by mounting him and checking his heartbeat. The others are stunned, but she insists it was for testing purposes only. They conclude Kotono's actions were impulsive and not romantic. Bandri and the others agree not to tell Kotono they know, to avoid panicking her. They realize Kotono has acted this way before, example in the game room incident, and that learning they aren't blood related has likely confused her further. brother. Bunry shares that after talking to their dad, she learned she was an orphan with unknown parents. She's still processing the news, just like everyone else. They agree to monitor the situation and trust Arata won't give in to anything inappropriate. Kotono seems happy and composed during her birthday celebration. Arata reflects on their dad's revelation they aren't real siblings and feels grateful that their bond hasn't changed. He promises internally to keep things the same. Later, at the mud shop, Arata is spooked, thinking he saw Lala, his crush. Uka finds him and brings up their past closeness, saying they were twins until 3 days ago and have things to discuss. Arata insists they are still twins. Uka tells him to face reality, recalling their twins' telepathy and past closeness. Suddenly, Uka says, "I love you," leaving Arata completely shocked. He silently processes how first Kotono, then Seiha, then Banri, and now Uka all have expressed romantic feelings towards him.
Despite Uka confessing her love to Arata, he misunderstood her feelings, thinking she meant it in a familial or brotherly way, though that wasn't the case. Uka regretted confessing under such circumstances. Meanwhile, during Arata's daily training, Minami appeared and praised his dedication. Their conversation revealed why Minami had been acting strangely during the park trip. She had overheard Uka's confession and was struggling to confront Arata about it. She eventually asked if something was going on between him and Uka, but Arata, misinterpreting her concern, brushed it off, thinking she referred to their usual arguments. Frustrated, Minami left without saying what was really on her mind. Later, in a classic rom-com moment, Arata accidentally ran into Seiha on the way to the bath. Then Banri visited Arata's room, not for romance, but to invite him on a date to help him get a new phone. During their outing, Banri playfully teased him with flirty comments. Arata quickly chose a phone based on practicality, prompting Banri to compare phone preferences to choosing a partner, suggesting Arata values personality over looks. Saleswoman, assuming they were a couple, offered them a special promotion, giving Banri another chance to tease him. While enjoying ice cream together, Banri brought up their past sibling fights and asked how Arata was dealing with the recent revelations. Arata admitted he was getting used to things, and Banri reassured him of her support. She even posted a picture of him in their sister's group chat, which made Kotono a bit jealous. Suddenly, Banri received a message that changed her mood and cut their date short. On her way out, she spoke to Minami over the phone, saying it didn't seem like anything happened between Arata and Uka. Still, Minami couldn't stop thinking about the confession. She tried to message Banri saying Uka would never confess like that, but accidentally sent it to the sisters group. Although she deleted it quickly, Kotono had already read the message.
Then during dinner, where Arata notices that his sister Seiha seems distracted and isn't eating. Worried, he checks on her later and awkwardly offers support, reminding her that he's her brother. Seiha appreciates his concern and suddenly proposes playing a familiar anime-style game. Though Arata is confused, he suspects she bought the game online and is now trying to use it. Seiha explains that her last visit to his room made her emotionally overwhelmed, and with university exams approaching, she wants to clear her feelings, hinting at emotions that might go beyond a sibling relationship. Arata is stunned by her boldness and starts questioning if she's serious. As the game continues, Seiha gets physically close to Arata under the excuse of playing by the rules, making him increasingly uncomfortable. When the game requires touching, Arata wants to give up but Seiha insists he can't. She then starts speaking about love, dopamine, relationships, and trust, asking deep questions about whether trust is built over decades or in just one meaningful moment, and whether that person could even be her younger brother. This leaves Arata mentally exhausted and confused. Just then, Seiha collapses on him from fatigue and says her verification is done, admitting she may have been overthinking. Before leaving, she thanks him, but Arata is left completely flustered, wondering how anyone could use Twister to sort out their emotions. As he vents his frustration aloud, Uka enters, overhearing part of the conversation. She casually invites him to play a game too, claiming she practiced 30 hours a week. This reminds Arata of childhood memories where Uka would always trap him in games. He begins to think he's the only one in the house who still takes their dad's advice seriously. Arata and Uka start playing games. Uka beats Arata 5 times in a row and starts teasing him playfully. Arata notices how genuinely happy she looks, which makes him wonder, is gaming really this fun? As the game goes on, Uka starts getting physically close to Arata, and he clearly notices it. He also compliments her on how much her skills have improved. Eventually, Arata gets serious, crushes her in 2 consecutive rounds, and that really upsets Uka. Suddenly, Uka traps Arata in a deadlock position like she used to when they were kids. She playfully says, "If you admit defeat, I'll let you go." Arata agrees and says, "Okay, I give up." But all the while, he's distracted by how close they physically are. Reacting impulsively, Arata flips the situation and pins Uka down, and immediately regrets it. Fearing retaliation, he braces himself. But instead of getting mad, Uka blushes and says, "It seems like you've grown up." Arata is left totally confused by her words. Uka then walks away and becomes visibly flustered. She mutters to herself, who tries to act like a big brother at such a weird time. Back in the room, Arata is still confused and frustrated, so he starts yelling to let it all out. But the biggest surprise, Kotono had been hiding in the closet the entire time and had witnessed everything, leaving her completely embarrassed. The next day at school, everything seems normal. Later that night, Arata meets his dad, who gives him a gift and casually asks if he likes someone. Arata is caught off guard. Meanwhile, the five sisters are watching a romantic drama, and a love confession scene sparks a discussion. Bonri finds the confession beautiful, but Uka criticizes it for being too cliché. She shares her dream confession, a rich, educated guy confessing to her at a rooftop restaurant under a night sky. Seiha's ideal man is someone with a clear life plan. Kotono is ignored in the conversation because she's seen as too young to talk about love. But then comes the big twist. Kotono stops everyone and says not only does she like Arata, she wants to marry him. She also reveals that she was happiest when she found out they weren't blood related. She declares the others her love rivals, shocking everyone. Meanwhile, Arata asks his dad why he's suddenly bringing up romance. His dad replies that it's part of becoming a man and then shares why he married Arata's mom, not just for her beauty but because she was strong yet gentle. He also reminds Arata of a promise made in Room 8 about showing him the entrance to another world when he grows up. Arata jokes, "If this turns into an Ice Guy anime, I'll lose my mind." In the end, Arata says that no matter what happens, he will protect all his siblings and keep their home happy. His father looks at a photo of his wife and says that his decision wasn't wrong. Finally, a mysterious scene unfolds. A little girl dressed formally is shown preparing a grave, while someone reads a heartfelt letter in the background. "Dear siblings, how are you? I hope you're doing well." As the girl quietly cleans the grave, the letter continues, "Thinking about all those memories makes me so happy that I can cry." Suddenly, her father appears, and it's Arata, now with white hair. The letter concludes, "Your smiles are my true treasure. From your sibling, with love." Now the mystery begins. Who is that little girl? And who wrote the letter? Then we see Minami is still processing Kotono's surprising confession about wanting to marry Arata. She tries to shake it off and focus on her upcoming inter-high tennis matches. On her way out, she runs into Arata returning from a jog. Their awkward exchange hints at unresolved feelings, and Arata notices she's been acting strange lately. He gently offers to listen if anything is bothering her, but Minami brushes it off. Inside the house, a comedic moment unfolds as the dog Vel is scolded by Bonri for overeating and skipping exercise. When Arata teases him further, Vel bites his butt, leading to chaos just as Cheyenne walks in. Later, Minami trains hard but keeps getting distracted by Kotono's confession. After practice, she challenges her senior now to a fun tennis match with a juice can as the prize, and wins. Now reveals this tournament is her last, as she wasn't recruited by any college teams. Now reflects sentimentally, expressing pride in Minami and admiration for her positivity and hard work. Touched, Minami silently vows to win a gold medal for now. Back at home, Arata confronts Minami, saying he knows she's hiding an injury after Yamaguchi saw her secretly tape it up. Minami admits nothing but internally reveals Kotono's confession is what's actually bothering her. Arata insists she shouldn't push herself too far. Meanwhile, Uka also recalls Kotono's confession. Bonri assumes it was inspired by a romance show, but Seiha argues Kotono was sincere. Back in the gym, Arata helps Minami stretch, triggering nostalgic and inappropriate thoughts he quickly tries to suppress. He admires her growth, beauty, and dedication but struggles to stay respectful. Minami confesses she's hiding the injury because she wants to help the team and support someone important to her, hinting at now. Arata respects her resolve but insists she take care of herself and get checked at the hospital. The scene ends with a teasing moment where Minami playfully surprises him during a stretch, leaving Arata flustered. After the workout, Arata runs into Kotono and feels awkward, recalling their past bathroom incident. He notices that Kotono has been acting distant and quiet since then, no odd behavior, no mealtime interactions, leading him to believe she's set boundaries. On his way to his room, Arata tells her to get to bed to avoid a summer cold. She asks if he was with Minami, then questions if Minami was acting strange. Arata wonders if Kotono has noticed Minami's injury but denies anything unusual. When he presses Kotono on her suspicions, she gets flustered and hurries back to her room. The next day is the inter-high second round, where Minami competes, motivated by her senpai, now. She wins the match, in front of the bus, now thanks her, but Minami insists it was a team effort. While walking towards the bus's door, Minami feels a sting in her ankle, which now notices. Later, back home, everyone congratulates Minami. In the gym, Arata checks on her, to which Minami teases him. She mentions the coach is setting her up with a personal trainer. Arata, feeling replaced, jokes he's being fired but is genuinely happy she's getting professional help. He encourages her to give it her all in the finals, and Minami thanks him. On finals day, Bonri is casually having breakfast in her underwear when Arata walks in and scolds her. She jokes about staying fit and flirts a little, which flusters him. Arata asks about Minami, and Bonri realizes she forgot the finals were today, assuming Minami left early. Then, Seiha arrives, concerned because Minami's tennis shoes are still by the door, suggesting she hasn't left. Uka, Kotono, and Shion also arrive, none of them knowing her whereabouts. This leads to a serious moment. Minami has gone missing. Everyone is shocked and worried because Minami has suddenly disappeared just before the final match. The siblings are confused and anxious, wondering where she could have gone when the most important game is about to begin. Then, unexpectedly, the door slowly opens and Minami walks in, carrying a bag of snacks, acting like nothing is wrong. Arata immediately steps forward, clearly concerned, asking where she had been. Minami casually says she just went to get some snacks and insists there is still plenty of time before the match since the spectators won't arrive until later. The others exchange worried looks, sensing something deeper behind her calm words. When Uka questions whether she is really going to play, Minami doesn't respond and quietly heads upstairs, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than before. Arata remembers her previous injury and decides to check on her. When he reaches her room, he finds her lying comfortably, eating snacks and looking surprisingly cheerful, not broken or disappointed like he expected, but almost normal. This shakes his assumptions. He tells her he thought tennis meant everything to her and never imagined she would give up so easily. Minami sighs and explains that after the bus ride, the team noticed her injury and decided to bench her to avoid risking further harm. But she's not worried. She believes she will get another chance to shine in future matches. Arata reminds her that she said she was playing for someone important, not just herself. Minami's expression softens as she admits she wanted to win for that person, but worries that if her injury affects her performance, she might only let the team down. She thinks it's better to step back now than to lose badly and drag everyone down with her. Despite her calm explanation, Arata feels like she's hiding something. He's certain there's more to it. Later, Shion calls Arata over and shares that he heard Minami crying but didn't know how to help. He believes Minami hides her pain behind a brave smile to protect everyone else from worrying. Something inside Arata shifts. Without hesitation, he rushes to Minami's room and tells her they are leaving immediately to play her match. Though she protests that it's too late, Arata insists, explaining that everyone is waiting. Outside, the group is packed into a car, ready to race to the stadium. But chaos quickly erupts. Bonri panics at driving, the GPS malfunctions, and they get stuck in a terrible traffic jam. Running doesn't seem like an option either. Then Kotono spots a row of rental bikes, but none of them have rental accounts. Fortunately, Seiha steps forward and offers her account. Arata grabs Minami's hand, determined to get her there on time. As they ride the bikes, Arata opens up about how Minami has always been the one holding their family together, even through pain and setbacks. He recalls how hard she has worked and how brightly she's shined despite everything. He encourages her to stop hiding her feelings and to let herself be vulnerable. Minami, holding back tears, stays quiet but holds on to him tightly. They finally arrive at the stadium just in time. Arata pleads with the teacher and Neo-senpai to let Minami play, promising she won't push herself too hard. Now supports him, and after a tense moment, the teacher agrees. Minami steps onto the court, hands trembling. Seeing her siblings cheering in the stands gives her the strength to keep going. She fights fiercely through the pain, putting everything she has into the match. Though they ultimately lose, it doesn't feel like a defeat, more like a hard-fought battle. After the match, Minami approaches her teammates with regret, feeling responsible for the loss. She expects anger or blame but instead receives deep gratitude from Nao, who acknowledges Minami as the light that kept the team together and motivated. Nao encourages her not to carry guilt and thanks her for trusting the team. Later, Arata finds Minami sitting alone, quietly admitting she feels ashamed for disappointing everyone but also relieved she didn't stay home and miss the chance to play. Arata embraces her and reminds her that she gave her all and that she should stop pretending to be strong when she's hurting. He thanks her for everything she's done, especially for him. him. At last, Minami breaks down completely, crying harder than ever before. She confesses her deepest fears and hopes, that she never wants to lose again, that she wants to become so strong she can't be stopped by injury or pain, and that she dreams of becoming the best tennis player in the world.